Hi everyone! So for this week's vlog on the paired readings from chapter 7, I chose Secret Skin, an essay in unitard theory by Michael Ch. I just want to start off by saying that I loved this essay so much. It was such a great read. I loved the connections between philosophy and escapism, transformation, realism, reality, all of those ideas. He uses words like syllogism, which is a philosophical term. He expands on the ideas of former philosophers and superheroes. It's so cool to find a nice little connection between two super unlikely things, but I thoroughly enjoyed the read. So the essay starts out with Ch retelling a story from his days in Jewish ethics class with Mr. Spector. So this beginning little section of the story talks about how kids find escapism in the form of comic books. Now, from Mr. Spector's perspective, comic books and escapism as a whole is a lie. It's all fantasy. It doesn't prepare kids for the real world, it's petty, and it renders you unfit. With the story of a boy who loved Superman so much that he tied a red towel around his neck, climbed up to the roof of his house, and with a cry of up, up, and away, leaped to his death, Mr. Spector sees that he was betrayed by the false dream of Superman, and it killed him, the child. So the author, Ch, recognizes that these out of this world ideas on superheroes and fantasy, they don't prepare you for real life situations. And he quotes a profound moral recognition of the implicit. And he recognizes that boy had been killed by the irresistible syllogism of Superman's cape. At its fundamentals, ink, pages, and writing is really all that makes up a comic book. So it's harmless, but it was the way that kids interpreted comic books, the idea of immersion and diving deeper into escapism, that made all the difference. And I thought it was interesting how he says a few years after Mr. Spector's class, the author had made himself into a hero and continued tying terry cloth towels around his neck and jumping at dangerously high heights in order to fly. That was like after Mr. Spector's class. I thought that was just interesting. But it wasn't about escapism, it was about transformation, which that's the most interesting. It's so cool. But so superheroes and comic books have existed forever. Superheroes longer than comic books, but they've existed forever. And it wasn't until Superman that they exhausted the genre. They used all the cliches. They really met their fullest potential as superheroes go with Superman. So Ch then breaks down into the superhero costume, kind of expanding more on the terry cloth towel idea, but basically saying the point of origin is not a date or a theory or a conjunction of cultural trends, but a story, the intersection of a wish and the tip of a pencil. So the real gist of this essay is that these costumes that superheroes wear, it's fruitless to try and recreate them. The more money you invest in them, it's just silly. The sillier they look, because it's all an illusion. None of it's real. It's all hand-drawn. It's all based on colors, and it's all a compilation of images. It's not really real. So realism in superhero costumes is hopeless because, again, it was drawn by another person. And even within its proper comic book context, it's still up for debate whether or not the costumes are supposed to exist in their purest form. So I just thought that was all really interesting. I loved how he talked about comic book costumes in particular. I love the emphasis on the costumes themselves. I liked he talked a lot about the superheroes and the history behind and how other philosophers and writers have tried to break down for years the moral standings of superheroes, whether or not they're ethical to be around our children. But I like that in particular we talked about costumes. I love costumes, and I distinctly remember all of this just brought me back to when I was like 10, Halloween 2014, when I was Batgirl, and the happiness and joy I got from tying a little, styrofoam utility belt around my waist and feeling like I was Batgirl and wearing a little mask. It was all just so cool. So looking back on it now, it's silly. Like that was ridiculous, but I was enjoying myself, and it was all about the idea of transformation rather than just escapism. So thank you so much. I hope you get to read this. It's so good, and I will talk to you later. Bye.